In your math notebook today, if you will turn to the table of contents, and you're going to write dividing fractions, page 30. If you no longer have room on the front of your table of contents, then you will simply go to the back of your table of contents. I had room on the front. So dividing fractions, page 30. You will turn to page 30. Write dividing fractions at the top. Write page 30 wherever you're keeping up with your page numbers, and your notes today will be handwritten. So we're actually going to take two set of notes. So you want to divide your paper in half. And at the top, we're going to put dividing whole numbers by fractions. All right, so I'm going to show you how to do this with a model. You won't have to do the models, but the models will help you understand what is going on when you are dividing fractions. So step 1 is draw rectangles. Rectangles for your whole numbers. Step 2 is divide your rectangle into pieces based off of the fraction you are dividing by. Dividing by. And step 3, count how many pieces you have. Count how many pieces you have. And in parentheses, I want you to put answer, because how many pieces you have is your answer. So we're going to do two examples. We're going to do 2 divided by 1/3, and we're going to do 4 divided by 1/3. So step 1 says draw rectangles for your whole number. My whole number is 2, so I'm going to draw 2 rectangles. 1, 2. Step 2 says divide your rectangles into pieces based off the fraction you are dividing by. Since I'm dividing by 1/3, I want to divide my rectangles into thirds. I'm going to use dotted lines. 1, 2, 3. I divided this rectangle into thirds. I'm also going to divide this rectangle into thirds. 1, 2, 3. Yes, you need to use dotted lines. Step 3 is count how many pieces you have. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 divided into thirds is 6. The whole number 6. No fraction. All right. Now, let's do it again. 4 divided by 1/3. I'm going to draw rectangles for my whole number. Since my whole number is 4, I need 4 rectangles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Step 2, divide your rectangles into pieces based off of the fraction you're dividing by. I'm dividing by thirds, so I'm going to divide this rectangle into thirds. I'm going to divide this rectangle into thirds. Yes, using dotted lines. Divide this rectangle into thirds. Divide this rectangle into thirds. Last step, count the pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My answer is 12. Now, some of you may have already found a shortcut. We will talk about the shortcut in a few minutes. Now we're going to look at dividing fractions by a whole number. This was a whole number by fractions. Now we're going to look at it in the opposite direction. So on the bottom of your paper, here, let me move the camera instead of moving my book. On the bottom of your paper, you're going to write dividing fractions by whole numbers. So the first time we did it, the whole number came first. Now the fraction's going to come first. Fractions by whole numbers. 3 steps. Step 1, draw 1 rectangle. To show the given fraction. Step 2, divide the fractional parts of the rectangle into the number of whole parts in the problem. Step 3, shade 1 piece of the whole rectangle. Again, put in parentheses, answer. Step 3 always gives you your answer. All right, we're going to do 2 problems. We're going to do 1/3 divided by 2. And we're going to do 1/4 divided by 4. So, step 1, draw 1 rectangle to show the given fraction. So I want to draw a rectangle to show thirds. So I'm going to draw 1 rectangle, and I'm going to cut it into thirds. Then I'm going to divide the fractional parts of the rectangle into the number of whole parts in the problem. So I want to divide this 1/3 into 2 pieces. I want to divide this 1/3 into 2 pieces. I want to divide this 1/3 into 2 pieces. I'm going to use a dotted line. Dotted line, divided every single third into 2 pieces. Step 3, shade 1 piece of the whole rectangle. So I'm just going to shade 1 piece here. Now, what's shaded? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1/6 is my answer. All right, the next problem says 1/4 divided by 4. I'm going to draw 1 rectangle. I'm going to cut it into fourths because I want to show fourths, my fraction, my given fraction. Divide the fractional parts into the number of whole parts in the problem. So I want to divide this 1/4 into 4 pieces, this 1/4 into 4 pieces, this 1/4 into 4 pieces, and this 1/4 into 4 pieces. So I'm going to use dotted lines. I should have made my rectangle a little bit bigger. And then the last step is to shade 1 piece of the whole rectangle. I'm going to zoom in some so y'all can hopefully see my dotted lines a little bit better. All right. 1 piece of the whole entire rectangle. What's shaded? 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1/16 is shaded. 1/16 is my answer. Now, let's zoom out. Now that we know, that we hopefully understand what is going on when we're dividing fractions, we're going to look at the shortcut. So when we started with a whole number, our answer was a whole number. Started with a whole, answer was a whole. When we started with a fraction, our answer was a fraction. So, start with a whole, answer's a whole. Start with a fraction, answer's a fraction. How do we get our whole number or our fraction number? Well, we simply multiply. 2 times 3, 6. It's got to be a whole number because I started with a whole number. 4 times 3, 12. Got to be a whole number because it started with a whole number. 3 times 2, 6. Got to be a fraction because it started with a fraction. 4 times 4, 16. Got to be a fraction because it started with a fraction. Now, some of you are probably asking, well, how do you know what your numerator is going to be, Ms. Bridges, if your answer is going to be a fraction? In fifth grade, your fraction will always be the number, your numerator will always be the number 1. When you get into 6th grade, your fraction will not always be the number 1. So I'm going to teach you something for 6th grade right now, and you can use it this year if you want to. So what they use in 6th grade is something called KCF. The K stands for keep, the C stands for change, and no, you do not have to write this down, and the F stands for flip, because this is 6th grade stuff. So keep, change, flip. In my first problem I did, 2 divided by 1/3, I'm going to use it again, 2 divided by 1/3, but I'm going to use keep, change, flip. So what that means is, let me get a different color here. I'm going to keep the 2, keep it. I'm going to change my division sign to a multiplication sign, and I'm going to flip this over. So instead of 1/3, it's going to be 3/1. Now, if I want to multiply, I put a 1 under it. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. Oh, look, my answer's 6. All right, so our other example was 1/4 divided by 4. Let's look at that and use keep, change, flip. Divided by 4. I'm going to keep the first, 1/4. I'm going to change division to multiplication. This is 4/1, but if I flip it around, then it's 1/4. Now it's just multiplication. 1 times 1 is 1. 4 times 4 is 16. 1/16. So in 6th grade, you will get problems like 2/3 divided by 1/4. Not in 5th grade, only in 6th grade. So you would keep 2/3. You would change this division sign to multiplication, and you would flip that over. Instead of 1/4, it would be 4/1. Then you would multiply. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. That's an improper fraction, which would be 2 2/3. You will not have anything like this in 5th grade. All of yours in 5th grade will either start with a whole number, be a whole number, start with a fraction, be a fraction. And the numerators will always be 1 in division. So now you're going to practice some division problems on scratch paper with the video, with the next video.